been enjoying your time off too, as you should, but when Allen and new head coach Joe Brady get back on the field together, what do you be watching for?
Who are they? What's the identity of this offense? That's one of the calling cards of this group since they've been together, is like there's a niche that they have before everybody else. If you remember in 2024, it was 6 offensive linemen. In 2025, it was the use of multiple tight ends, often 3 of them on the field. This is a team now has 5 wide receivers: Khalil Shakir, DJ Moore, Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman. They drafted Skylar Bell in the 4th round. So there's a lot of wide receivers on this team now, but there's still those tight ends. I just want to see who this offense is going to be identity-wise. What's the thing that they're going to lean on more often than not?
Yeah, Kyle is joining us on behalf of American Century Golf Championship, getting a little golf in before training camp. We will get to the football side of this, Kyle, but first of all, I know you're a pretty good golfer. That's the word on the street, but how would you describe your game?
First off, thanks for having me on. I don't want to overestimate my abilities, but I mean, I can hit a golf ball. I'm not going to say I'm the best out here. Don't really feel like I have a chance to win, but I'm going to try.
I love it. Hey, we wish you the best of luck. We'll keep an eye on the results.
Now,
you do have a new head coach in Jesse Minter, as I mentioned. What's it been like with Minter and new DC Anthony Weaver taking over the defense and some of the changes that they've implemented?
It's been great so far, honestly. It's been seamless. Obviously, both Jesse and Weave have been in Baltimore before and understand what the culture is and the culture that's been set by previous coaches, previous players, mostly, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Haloti Nato, all those guys have kind of made the Ravens what they are today and what we strive to be. So it's been great, and they have a great plan for us, and I'm excited.
Yeah, speaking of that plan, we've seen you lined up at almost every position on defense. It's one of my favorite things about your game. Should we expect more of that this season?
I mean, I would assume so. It's always week to week, depending on how the season's going, depending what the opponent does and what we feel like we most need from me. I feel like coaches do a great job of simplifying it as much as they can for me, and just wherever it happens on a week to week basis.
I talked about Trey Hendrickson joining this team. What have you seen so far from him? And based off of that, how would you expect him to impact the squad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what year Trey's in. I think it's 11 or something like that, 12 maybe. But I mean, he's been doing it the whole time he's been in the league, and I expect more of the same, and I know he does, if not more, for himself. And it's a big boost of energy and talent that we get just having him on the team. And he can even mentor younger guys coming off the edge like Mike Green. I know they've already had some friendly competitions here and there in the spring, so I'm excited for what he's going to bring to us.
Yeah, what's his presence been like? We know what he can do on the field that you're talking about and some of that mentorship even, but what is it like to have him, even just in your small experience so far with him, in the locker room and just around the program?
Yeah, he's a good guy, funny guy, doesn't take everything too seriously, but when it's time to work, he works and just goes about his business, isn't super loud, but he's loud on film when you see him out there. So I think it's really important for us to have somebody like that. It's kind of a silent leader and leads by example, and sets the tone, just whether it's running to the ball in practice or getting to the quarterback. It kind of raises everybody's level.
Lamar Jackson's been there throughout a lot of the preseason work so far. Just what's it been like to be around Lamar this particular time of year, and what's he saying about his expectations about next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing about Lamar, or one of the best things about Lamar, is he's going to act the same in March and April as he will in January, February. And, he does a great job of kind of separating the fun from the work, and he keeps it as light as possible, but at the same time he does a great job just locking back in and make sure everybody else is locked in. He preaches that to us.
Better of the guys in 27, which one do you have your eye on?
Yeah, I really agree with Jordan's point about strength in numbers, by the way. I think we're going to find our way to 5-ish first-round quarterbacks, but the one that has me most intrigued, and he might be a candidate for the 2028 NFL draft, is Drew Mestemaker, who did not start for his own high school team at quarterback. He was the backup to a player who ended up at Louisville. He was a safety and a punter. He goes to North Texas, plays a couple of years there, and puts up bananas numbers last year. Led the FBS in passing yards last season. He is incredibly big. He's a legit dual-threat quarterback. He's got this kind of funky, unique release. Reminds me a little bit of Phillip Rivers with the way that he throws the football. He is not like Phillip Rivers in terms of athletic ability or playmaking. He's at Oklahoma State. He followed his coach, Eric Morris, there. The competition ramps up dramatically. A huge test. But in late June, the guy that has me most intrigued, I just keep your eye on as we get to this season, is Drew Mestemaker.
Yeah, Phil, and then the two other quarterbacks you saw on that graphic was Arch Manning of Texas, who a lot of people are really excited about. There was huge expectations for him coming into the year, and everybody remembers that Ohio State game of where he did not play very well, what like a lot of people anticipated. But if you progressively saw him throughout the season, he got significantly better, specifically down the backstretch of the year. I go to that bowl game against Michigan. That is the player that a lot of people thought that they were going to get from the beginning of the season. So Arch Manning, I definitely think if he can build on what we saw at the end of the year, he has a chance to be a contender for the #1 overall pick. And then also Dante Moore, who comes back after only starting 20 career games, who potentially could have been the #2 overall pick behind Fernando Mendoza a season ago. He comes back for another year, and there's huge expectations for him coming into the year.
A new offense has led to success throughout Lamar's career. This is the third time that the Ravens have hired a new OC since drafting him in 2018. And the previous two times, he won NFL MVP in the first year with the new OC. He won 13 games in both of those MVP seasons with Greg Roman in 2019 and Todd Monken in 2023. So, Ben, how do you expect this offense to look different with Doyle now running the show?
I think it's less about how it looks different and more about how it actually sounds different. Declan Doyle comes from the Sean Payton tree and the Ben Johnson tree. Those are really wordy trees. Those coaches like to put a lot of language into their play calls. So the big difference that you hear Doyle talking about in minicamp is about stressing the guys out and making them really execute the details, because remember, Lamar doesn't have his center there in Tyler Linderbaum anymore. It's going to be a really new and inexperienced guy. So the big challenge for Lamar is going to be about getting in and out of the huddle, getting up to line of scrimmage, adjusting play calls. But once the ball is snapped, Doyle wants to throw to the middle of the field. Lamar's elite at throwing to the middle of the field. Doyle wants to get under center. Well, Lamar gets under center a lot more than the other hyper-mobile quarterbacks do. The personnel might be a little different. You'll probably see more three receiver sets, but to me, it's much more about the operation in Baltimore. If they can get the offense installed well, then they should take off fast in September. And yeah, that third MVP might be in the cards.
It's a great point about how losing Tyler Linderbaum is going to affect this change. Ben, you said a couple of things I think that are important to stress here. Lamar being under center, Lamar throwing over the middle of the field. There are a few offenses right now across the league transitioning to this sort of offense. Philadelphia, Washington, we're going to talk about later. It is the current trend in the NFL. But of all of those offenses, or all those quarterbacks rather, Lamar Jackson is the one I worry about the least, because as Ben said, he has been elite over the last 5 years under center, first in QBR. Throwing over the middle of the field, second only to Justin Herbert. In fact, he's better throwing over the middle field than he is to outside the numbers, so I see a fantastic fit. My question is less about Lamar Jackson in the new offense and more about everybody else.
The man himself gracing us with his presence, because if you didn't know, the winners also go to Cancun here. Shed, you and the Seahawks, of course, are up for best team after winning the franchise's only second Super Bowl title, right? But we got to talk about what you did first, because not only did you walk away as a champ, but you had that late pick six to seal the deal. What do you remember most about that play?
Honestly, I just remember the ball ending up in my hands. You know, shout out to my teammates, Devin Witherspoon for making a great play. Shout out to Coach Mike for making a great call. And, you know, like you like to say on the defense, ball finds energy. And I just happened to be at the right place in the right time and, you know, able to take it to the house.
You guys were so consistent all season. At what point during the season did you really start to believe that this team could do something special?
Probably mid-season. You know, we were kind of up and down a little bit, and we kind of went on a win streak. And I remember that game against Jacksonville, speaking from a defensive standpoint, you know, it was a tough battle early on. You know, the Jags played it close, but the defense together were just making so many plays. And when everybody's around the ball having fun making plays like that, that's when you kind of know you got something special. And when it came down to it, the offense was able to answer. I've been able to put points on the board, which, you know, allowed us to win. So I'll probably say around Jacksonville week was the week that we knew we had something special.
And Shed, you've also got your teammate Jackson Smith-Njigba up for Best NFL Player of the Year. Why should everybody at home vote for him?
Just like you said, because he's the best NFL Player of the Year. You know, the things he was able to do offensively, new system, new quarterback. But Jack just stayed who he is, which is a composed guy. You know, he trusts his work, he trusts his athleticism, he trusts, you know, the coaches and his God-given talent. He was able to go out there this year and do a lot of special things, and he's just getting better and better. So Jackson's definitely the best player in the league this year.
Your team is stacked up against a loaded list of champions. Some ended droughts, others brought home gold. But why should you guys go home with the hardware in this category?
You know, we're just who we are. You know, we're obviously the best team in the NFL last year. We kept majority of our team this year, so why would we not be the favorites, you know, to go into this next season? So, but we like when we have a chip on our shoulder. We like when we got something to prove. So it just adds fuel to the fire for us, and we're going to show the world again what we're about.